Hey everybody, this is Vril. Welcome back to Extended Timeline World War II. So we are coming up on the year 1992, and in the last episode we had Romania declare war on Hungary here. The Romanians were allied with the Germans, so that went very well for them, and they occupied all of Hungary except for one province, leaving Hungary just with one province here. So over in the east, we had China warring with the Japanese for several episodes. Now, the Japanese had taken parts of the Soviet Union, and the Chinese winning that war gave that area back to the Soviet Union. They took a little bit for themselves here in northern Korea, and they took one province here in Taiwan. I'm surprised they didn't take all of Taiwan, but that is what they ended up taking. Now, the Soviet Union was declaring a war here against the Japanese. They were trying, the actual war is to reconquest this area, but now they have it. So I'm curious how this war ends up going. It's going positive for the Soviets. So the Soviets have occupied Japanese Korea, some of the northern islands in Japan as well. Let's look at other wars that are going on. So we talked about the Soviet one. We've got the French reconquest here in Laos. It's the second time the French have tried to reconquest Laos. We have the British-Australian War. The British Australians and the Commonwealth nations are allied with the USA and the Netherlands, and the British are mainly backed by the Soviets here, and actually Thailand as well has a decent-sized army, so they're helping with that. We have the Spanish West Africans trying to gain independence. They're allied with the Italians, and the French and the Spanish are allied with the Brazilians, Belgium, and Germans. And we have a Kochi-Tibetan War. Those have been going on a little bit as well. We don't care about that one quite as much, I don't think. So let me just start. Actually, got ahead of myself. Let's look at our militaries of the world here before we get too far. The Chinese are now back on top. At least I thought they were on top at one point in time, maybe very early on. So they are on top again. The USA had been on top for many, many episodes, but the Chinese are now larger. Actually over their force limit though, followed by the US, Soviet Union, Germany, and actually the rebels are on here. The Japanese are back on the list at least. They were not on this top 15 list at all. Let me just switch back to this current wars list and start progressing time. So Soviets with a 3-star general. Now the Soviets are allied with the British, so who are at war with the Netherlands here. So you can see this zooming all the way out, what's going on here. The Netherlands did have a decent army for where they are in the world, but the Soviets are now occupying parts of their islands here, so around Indonesia, Malaysia, that part of the world. Apparently I was paused, so yeah, you can see some Soviet stacks. We've got some stacks from Thailand here, probably moving into, we've got a strait here so they can easily get into this area. They won't be able to move into this area without some ships though, so I think the Netherlands are probably pretty safe with that. We've got some Bruneian reactionaries here too. Let's head on over to West Africa and see what's going on here. As I said, the Spanish West Africans are trying to gain their independence. They have the French and Italians on their side. The Germans are probably going to make sure that this does not go anywhere, though. Look at all these German forces. 3-star generals here for the Germans. The French, not doing too well in this series. Not doing too well at all. They've lost most of their colonies. And yeah, I mean, they're trying to gain back Laos, but they're not succeeding with that either. So the Spanish do have a 3-star general here, but I think it's a little bit not enough. Heading back over to, I mean, yeah, this is where none of this British-Australian war is really being fought in Australia, so it's being fought in other areas. Did we talk about the French Indochina here? So we do at least have the French have arrived here. The Laotians with this 3-star general. The Soviet Union, let's see, are they at war with the French in any way? I don't think so. I think they're just getting military access. Yeah, I mean, they're, if anything, they're allied with the French, so they have military access here. So yeah, this was going positive for the French at least, now that they're reoccupying areas that the Laotians had sieged down. In the last episode, there were almost like a dizzying amount of wars going on. It's really hard to follow that British-Australian war. So it looks like the Japanese have arrived in Korea, though. So they are besieging back some areas. And they're actually going to be besieging back some areas here in the Soviet Union. So we'll see how that ends up going. It's a little bit hard to follow. The Chinese have given the Soviets military access since they are allied. They're not allied in this war, but they at least, they can work together in that sort of way. Looks like the West African War here, Independence War, did not succeed. Kind of no surprise there with the Germans being on the side of the Spanish here. So you can see the Germans are actually allied with Spanish, the Romanians, and the Turks. The Italians are actually allied with Cameroon, Saudi Arabia, Iran. It's really kind of interesting here. British have been allied with the Soviet Union on the entire series here. It's always been a little weird, but that is what's going on. We did have that Cape Colony tried to gain independence, and I really thought they were going to do it in an earlier episode, but that war ended up ending. So the Americans are at war with the British here because of that Australian War too, and they're sieging down lots of areas in Newfoundland as well. Got a little strait here between them, so it's easy for them to move in. And they are allied with the Canadians, so they can get easy military access. The Mexicans were part of this war at one point in time, but they pieced out independently, I think, to get out of that war, because they were just going to get demolished by the Americans here. Okay, we have this is another Indian kingdom war there. Had a lot of those going on. Have not focused on them at all. So you can see the Thai are here. The Soviets are just kind of, they do have a really large army, but they just seem kind of scattered around the world. So it's not too good for them because the Japanese can probably hold on to what, they're not scattered around the world. So even though their armies basically been obliterated, they've been able to reestablish it. Why are the Japanese able to move in? I'm surprised that they'd be able to move in through China. Okay. So we've got, and this is Soviet forces. Very hard to tell with the flags there. At least for me it is. Okay, well, I would expect this British-Australian War for Independence going to end rather soon. We have a war between Montenegro with Greek help against Bosnia here, so that, at least it's easy to follow what's going on there. So let's have a look here. Looks like trying to just, there we go, get this diplomatic view is not cooperating for me. So the Bosnians are sieging Montenegro, sieging parts of Bosnia here. So yeah, they have claims on all of Albania, some of Serbia. Kosovo is actually occupied by the Greeks, so they have claims on that, but that's certainly not going to happen, and the Greeks are helping out the Bosnians here. I wonder if the Turks might try to take advantage of this. The Turks certainly, if the Greeks waste all of their forces and their manpower in this war, maybe the Turks can go take an advantage from that. Got some Iraqi and noble insurgencies there. Noble rebels. That war for Montenegro is going on the side of Montenegro very easily. They're allied with the Greeks here, so that should be very easy for them. Just need to actually siege down Well, they'll siege quickly. So Montenegro going to become a power here in the Balkans if they can take over Bosnia here. Of course, the last person that tried to do that, Hungary, they had all this area, and they now they're a one province minor nation, so did not go well for them when they tried that particular tactic. We've got the Japanese big battle going on here between 2- and 3-star generals for the Soviets. Looks like the Soviets lost that one. So yeah, the Japanese coming back in this war. I'm rather surprised. We've got a Cameroonian Portuguese imperialist war. So Cameroon with Guinea have declared war on Portugal. That's probably, Portuguese probably still have some territory. Actually, I don't see much. Maybe this one? Yeah, so Guinea's trying to get... Actually, I'm not sure what they are. That's just not chord. But whatever, they don't like each other. Cameroon and the Portuguese, they've been fighting some wars. Cameroon's, because they're allied with the Italians, they've been doing pretty well in this. They're not allied in this war against the Italians, though. So that Montenegro war just ended. It looks like Bosnia is down to 1 province. So you can see the Montenegro has grown in size. Surprised that they didn't just take everything, but maybe the war score required was too high for them to do that. So yeah, they should be able to do a little bit better now if they're going to take over more areas here in former Yugoslavian area. Looks like we had that Indian Kingdom War has ended as well. I'm not going to really check on what's going on there. Looks like the Americans, are they at war with the... Yes, they are at war with the Soviet Union. Because of the... Yeah, we've got British Australia because of the Americans occupying parts of the Soviet Union. So if the Americans can get over here, that could go well for both the Japanese and the British Australians. Need to re-siege. Somebody needs to re-siege this back for the British Australians, though, for the Netherlands. The Great Britain has really held on to their territory in this. Oh, okay, we actually had the French Indochina took over all of Laos, so they were successful in this one. Wonder if they'll try to regain Vietnam here. So they do still have claims on it. So France does consider it a core province still. So yeah, I would expect them to possibly try to do that. Now we've got a 3-star Soviet general, 160k stack. That's going to be devastating to whoever runs into it. It's probably one of the largest 3-star general stacks that we've seen in this series. Cameroon Portuguese war is not going anywhere. It's probably because the Portuguese are able to blockade Cameroon and Guinea, all of that, so it's going to go well for them. I'm surprised, though, that the Japanese are actually... that Soviets have a positive war score against the Japanese still. So did that war just end? Looks like it did. And I think that the Soviets took some land here from the Japanese here in this northern island. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was, because you can see that the Japanese have some cores on there. Okay. They actually have a claim all the way over here as well. That's from the old times when they had that. Okay. They have some in the Philippines as well against the Americans. Alright, so that one ended. So what do we want to look at now? This British-Australian War for Independence. I guess the Americans are going to be surrounded here and devastated in the Soviet Union here in Siberia. We got another Soviet 3-star general here too. Yeah, with all the wars that the Soviets have had, their land army tradition is probably very high, so they can get a bunch of 3-star generals. Cameroon. The other one with the 3-star generals is the Italians. They've had so many 3-star generals throughout this series. So I'm not really sure what the Cameroon was the one that did declare. Okay, we've got a Brazilian allied with the Spanish West Africa against Venezuela and Peru war going on. And actually we've got Norway trying to reconquest here in Sweden as well. Norway's really been pushed down to size before. But the Swedish have been dealing with some Swedish revolutionaries that I don't think I mentioned that in the series in this episode anyway, but I had noticed that. So they could possibly, Norway really pushed back, could maybe gain some territory back that they definitely need. So what else did we have? We had over in South America, we had this Brazilian war against Venezuela. You can see they had some claims on both Peru and Venezuela. I think at this point it was expected that the Brazilians would gain some, kind of dominate South America. They usually do in these. But it did take them a little bit longer. They lost some territory to Argentina. But it looks like, they've got a 50k stack, 70k stack. Although, if Venezuela and Peru could actually get organized, then they might be able to fight them off, but we'll see. Let's head back on over to Norway. Iceland's sitting pretty over here, not doing much of anything. That's good for them. So yeah, I think that the Swedes here, because they've got a 3-star general here though. But because of these revolutionaries that they've been dealing with, they've probably low on manpower and their army isn't all that big either. I think that they were allied with Estonia, though. Okay. So let me switch back to that, and anything else? British Australia still got positive war score. Okay. Let's head back to South America. Get this 49k stack from Venezuela. Yeah, these armies for Peru and Venezuela just really need to try to merge up and attack the bulk of the Brazilian army when, they're not together. Looks like we've got the Americans. This is a naval battle, or is it land battle? It's a land battle, okay. So USA against the British West Indies. Okay, so what just happened there? We had this come out of British Columbia there. Yeah, that war did not end. What do we got? We've got another Indian war going on as well. I'm not sure exactly what happened there because this suddenly seemed to change there. I'll have to check that out. Got the Peruvians occupying some territory here in Brazil. We've got Venezuela occupying some territory. And the Brazilians occupying some of Venezuela. Just a matter of time before the Brazilians take out this Peruvian stack here. And they're fighting over the rainforest for the most part here. Let's head back up to Norway, see what's going on there. Got some more Swedish revolutionaries. It's the part that's tough with the Norwegians here, is they've got some territory here, but they can't capture it all because they probably don't want to mess with these Swedish revolutionaries. So it does look like we're out of time for this episode. I hope you enjoyed this one, and please consider hitting the like button if you did, as it really helps out the channel. So see you guys next time.